I mean, in all honesty, I think it would be even more exciting if it was me and KRS.
Why you say that?
Well,
I'll say this real quick. The powers that be must have compelled him, but that just shows he got geldings. Me avoiding smoke, I don't do that seldom, but I stayed out of you and you're welcome. Let's go.
Bad Boy, during the whole turmoil, I'm asking Big and them like, yo, after the shows, why y'all don't go out with us? Well, man, this with Death Row and all that. I said,
Because I've seen artists get lost in teaching people. KRS was my favorite, like my favorite artist, period, during
When it comes to hip-hop legends, few stories are as layered and as misunderstood as the bond between Big Daddy Kane and Tupac Shakur. On the surface, the 90s were all about that East Coast versus West Coast feud, fueled by media headlines and record label agendas. But behind the smoke and drama was a very different truth, one built on respect, shared philosophies, and manipulation from industry power players like Suge Knight. Today, we're peeling back the curtain on what really happened. So stay tuned, because the tea in this story is something you don't want to miss.
With the skills, I do not joke. These rappers are like fake heroin, they are not dope. Their skills I do not quote, nada.
KRS-One has finally set the record straight about Big Daddy Kane and Tupac. And let me tell you, the story isn't what people thought. Despite all the rumors, these two were never enemies. In fact, there was mutual respect between them. But of course, the industry had other plans. With Suge Knight pulling strings, drama was always on the table. Suge loved stirring the pot, making sure everyone picked a side, because nothing sold records, magazines, and TV slots like East Coast versus West Coast beef.
Death Row. Yeah, can I speak to Suge? He ain't here. Nah, this is Trash.
Oh, hold on.
Suge, yeah, what's up, Damo? Yo, where Pac?
Oh, he out right now, boom, boom, boom.
Yo, we on the road with Bad Boy, and they not going on the road, they ain't doing nothing, they ain't boom, 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 I'm on the...
Top 3 in hip-hop is a tough argument, but it all come down to 5 names. KRS-One, Big L, Notorious B.I.G., Tupac. And honestly,
So when y'all was shooting up the BMW, what was Suge Knight's reaction?
He was getting down, trying to duck. Anybody that got some sense, gonna get their ass down. But he was getting down there. He way.
So he wasn't trying to grab Tupac?
Nah.
How you came out with KRS-One?
But my brother
at the Barclays in Brooklyn
and did
against
my brother,
Kane.
Kane is my brother.
How
too.
you do that?
My 2 brothers. Do you know that obviously wasn't done on purpose? It was. Listen to what, if you go back and listen to what I was saying, I said nothing towards Kane.
But here's the twist. Big Daddy Kane didn't want to play that game. Meanwhile, Tupac, whether he liked it or not, ended up being dragged right into it. According to KRS-One, if tension ever existed between the two, it wasn't personal, it was manufactured. Kane was even approached by Death Row, but he turned them down. That single move alone pulled him into a messy narrative he never asked for. Behind the scenes, though, Kane and Tupac respected each other deeply, even sharing conversations and collaborations that never made it to the public. Kane even acknowledged that while Tupac wasn't about complicated rhymes his words hit hard enough to touch the soul.
Give a fuck about what Nelly is doing.
Saying he's number one. But then you forgot, KRS-One had a song called Number One.
Making funky music is a must. I'm number one.
No, I know that, but I'm like, what the fuck? So what? Everybody got songs that's labeled.
And then came Suge's big plan, Death Row East. Suge wanted to dominate the East Coast just like he did the West. And who better to headline than Brooklyn's own legend, Big Daddy Kane? Kane later revealed that he was offered a huge deal with a $100,000 advance on the table and even promises of bigger money down the line. But Kane wasn't fooled by that spectacle. He shared how during that meeting, Suge staged his power move with giant dogs, cigars, and money talk, clearly trying to intimidate him. Suge even told him he deserved nothing less than $1 million contract and could get cash in the morning without signing anything. But instead of playing along, Kane quietly booked an early flight out and never looked back.
Kane knew better. Come on, who gives out that kind of money with no strings attached? He wasn't about to sell his soul to the devil, and by walking away, he did more than save himself.
Kane wasn't fooled for a second. He knew no one throws around that kind of money without a catch. He saw the setup for what it was, recognized the danger, and walked away. His decision wasn't just about the cash, it was about refusing to get pulled into a fake rivalry with Tupac. And despite Suge Knight's best efforts, Kane and Tupac always had respect for one another. KRS-One made it clear in interviews that there was never beef between them. If anything, the two had more in common than most rappers at the time. But still, Tupac got swept up in the chaos of the East Coast versus West Coast hype. KRS-One later explained that Tupac, Biggie, and everyone else were caught up in an image created by the industry, a machine that thrived on hype. If Tupac were alive today, he probably would have admitted it too.
I'll say this real quick. The powers that be must have compelled him, but that just shows he got geldings. Me avoiding smoke, I don't do that seldom, but I stayed out of you and Shan shit. Nigga, you welcome. Let's go.
Kane always stood by Tupac's artistry. He defended Tupac from critics who tried to dismiss him, pointing out that Tupac's rhymes carried real weight. They weren't just words, they spoke directly to people's struggles and emotions. To Kane, that made him a true lyricist. And let's not forget the unreleased track they worked on together, Wherever You Are. Even though it never officially dropped, it proved that Tupac could hold his own with a legend like Kane.
Why was Biz so much of a respected MC? And like you blatantly like wrote his rhymes. But nowadays, if someone was to get help on their pen, they don't look at him like a real MC.
When it comes to MCing, you have lyricists and you have party rockers. I'm a lyricist. Rakim is a lyricist. KRS, G-Rap, lyricists. Then you got party rockers. Biz, Dougie Fresh, Busy B, DJ Hollywood. Their job is to rock the party. And when they come, they do their job. With us, we're lyricists. Our job is to be lyricists. If someone else writing our shit, then we ain't really lyricists.
Right.
Right.
Real talk.
Yeah.
But the bond between them went even deeper than music. Both shared a connection to the 5% Nation, also known as the Nation of Gods and Earths. This movement, born in Harlem during the 1960s, centered on the belief that black people are the original people of the world and that true power comes from self-knowledge. It was all about awareness, empowerment, and knowing your worth. Kane became involved with those teachings in the early 1980s, and it left a big mark on his music. He often sprinkled in references to supreme mathematics and the supreme alphabet, powerful codes of knowledge that shaped how he wrote his rhymes. Even in his tracks like The Wrath of Kane, listeners would catch hints of those philosophies woven into his verses. When asked about it later, Kane shared how he was introduced to the 5% Nation around 1981 or 1982. He said that during that era, understanding who you were and where you came from mattered more than anything. Studying the lessons, learning the history, and knowing your rightful place in it helped shape him, not just as an artist, but as a person. It was knowledge that molded him into someone stronger, wiser, and more grounded in his purpose. Tupac's connection to the 5% Nation was a little different from Kane's. He was never officially initiated, but he was surrounded by its teachings early on, especially during his time in Baltimore and through his mother, Afeni Shakur, who had been part of the Black Panther movement. Tupac soaked up those revolutionary ideas, and you could hear them everywhere in his work. From his fiery interviews to his lyrics, themes of empowerment, self-knowledge, and resistance to oppression were always at the core of who he was. So even though Kane and Tupac were from opposite coasts, and even though the industry tried hard to pit them against each other, the truth is, they had a lot more in common than people realize. Their shared philosophies gave them a mutual respect that went far deeper than the narratives Suge Knight was trying to sell.
It ain't East versus West. It's Pac and Big going back and forth, and they gonna do records and everything else, and that's the it. Lee Naughty was on the road with Bad Boy during the whole turmoil. I'm asking Big and them like, yo, after the shows, why y'all don't go out with us? Well, man, you know this with Death Row and all that. I said,
Death Row.
Yeah, can I speak to Suge?
He ain't here.
Nah, this is Tretch.
Oh, hold on.
Suge, yeah,
What's up, Damo?
Yo, where Pac?
Oh, he out right now. Boom, boom, boom.
Yo, we on the road with Bad Boy, and they not going on the road. They ain't doing nothing. They ain't boom, boom, boom. I'm on the and tell them go out. We gonna make better records than them, sell more, get more money. Ain't nobody after them. Every day after that, they was going to every show. Lil Kim, Junior Mafia asking. It is hip hop, battle, but ain't going die over this. And it was a rap. That was it.
And Suge, he wasn't just running a record label. He was carefully shaping a storyline. Death Row was exploding in popularity, and he knew exactly how to keep that momentum going. Stir up drama. The East Coast versus West Coast rivalry was the perfect marketing tool, and Suge had no problem engineering it to fuel record sales and headlines.
Wait, the East Coast don't love Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg? The East Coast ain't got no love for Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and Death Row? Y'all don't love us? Y'all don't love us? Well, let it be known then. We know y'all East Coast. We know where the fuck we at.
His play with Kane was all about strategy. Signing Kane to Death Row East wouldn't just mean another artist on the roster, it would mean pulling in a respected East Coast legend to legitimize his empire. But Kane's refusal did more than keep him out of the deal. It put him in a unique spot, because suddenly he wasn't seen as neutral. In an industry where everyone was being dragged into the war, even being neutral was being viewed as making a statement. That's how clever Suge was at twisting perception.
I remember because I was high and I was baked. And you know, I'm baked, but I'm in LA. It's just me. I ain't out there with nobody.
Y'all had a mansion out there. Remember that?
Yeah, we did, but we didn't have no mansion then. It was just meth out there. Boom, I'm in here, right? So I remember sitting up in one of the booths. You know how House of Blues is set up. I'm sitting in one, and this is the pre-Soul Train party. So I'm sitting up in one of the booths. And I'm just like looking around at everything, and I'm starting to feel the tension. Before that, I wasn't feeling the tension. I mean, we was even, the plane coming to LA, Suge was on our plane. Love. You know what I'm saying? So it was all love. I'm in there and just tension. It just felt weird. And I remember seeing Puff come through. That's where it started for me at. Because I remember seeing Puff come through, and Puff had like 5 bodyguards with him. And this was like one of the only times Puff ever stopped to speak to me. You know what I mean? Really? Like, yeah. Yeah, back in them days. During those days. You know, Big was still alive. Right. Whatever. This one time first stopped to speak to me. And so, you know, I felt a little uneasy. Like, what the was that about? Puff don't do that shit. I'm like, what the So I had to shake it off, and I'm sitting up in the booth.
Suge would later claim that the so-called East Coast versus West Coast beef wasn't really what people thought. He said it wasn't about coasts. It was about people hustling, chasing fame, and squeezing money out of careers and reputations. On the East Coast, some saw it as a way to make others pay for protection, while Death Row's side claimed they were just representing the streets, the raw reality of the ghetto.
So these people, they landed there from Italy and Ireland, and they were poor as and desperate.
Right.
They made it across the ocean on a boat without YouTube. They didn't know what the fuck they were getting into.
Yeah.
They probably barely saw a photo of what America looked like. They had no idea if they were going to get a job.
Yeah.
Those are hard-ass people. And so those people raised hard-ass kids. And it takes a long time to break that out of a generational cycle. And I think for a lot of people that moved to California, like, I didn't even know people were friendly until I moved to California.
Yeah.
When I moved to California, I'm like, girls are so much nicer. They're like nice. Yeah. They're like, hi. Like, hi, how you doing? They're not going to just be mean to you.
Right.
But for Tupac, neutrality wasn't an option. Once he signed with Death Row, he became the face of Suge's empire, and the feud became his brand. Every magazine, TV show, and radio station ran with the narrative, and while Tupac's fiery personality added fuel to the fire, so much of that tension was exaggerated or even manufactured by the industry itself.
Because I've seen artists get lost in teaching people. KRS was my favorite, my favorite artist, period, during The Bridge Is Over, and you can see the competitive, that energy, how aggressive that music was in the early stages, that with how it would resonate with me and the decisions that I made.
But then he got too deep, then it's like, all right.
Because he was the teacher. He started saying so much. Even all Southern-based music is representation of having fun or simplifying the message. You know what I'm saying? Because the cadences, it's a bounce to it. They're gonna dance. Like in New York, you'll get this. That nod, and they'll leave and go, yo, I love him, man. That was fire. You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna jump and shake bread and be with no clothes on, sweating. And, that's not gangsta out here.
KRS-One called this out for what it was. He made it clear that he wasn't going.
Him and Rod, they both have hits, but KRS is a real battle rapper. Rakim is a great lyricist. KRS is a battle rapper.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He know how to go at me. So
Suge wasn't the only one pushing the East Coast versus West Coast rivalry. Back in the 90s, the entire record industry had multiple layers of influence feeding into it. Executives, A&R reps, and even the media all had something to gain from the chaos. Drama sold records. It boosted magazine sales, and it made TV ratings climb. So conflict became a business strategy. Artists were sometimes pressured to throw shots at each other, and in other cases, their interviews were cut and edited to make it look like beef existed when it didn't.
With the skills, I do not joke. These rappers are like fake heroin, they are not dope. Their skills, I do not quote, nada. They quick to destroy my legacy like this is load the chopper, catch them coming out of Red Lobster, turn their brain into pasta. I'm drinking on the top floor, cause my bars are higher. Original ghetto superstar, like Bras and Maya. You a MC? This a name you better know. Blastmaster KRS-One, I spit forever, yo. I spit the raw and make it so plain. When I spit next to Big Daddy Kane, I become his I take it that far, bumping Illmatic in a fast car, feeling like I'm driving in NASCAR or NASCAR, the long laster, the blast master, the blast from the past, so you can call me Pastor. The mic got big. I'm not a player, I just crush a lot, no pun intended.
Big Daddy Kane and Tupac are great examples of how this worked. Both were respected, skilled lyricists with strong philosophies. And when they crossed paths, they treated each other with respect. But the industry didn't want that story. Instead, they painted a different picture. One that made it seem like Kane and Tupac were on opposite sides. Suge and his circle knew fans would eat up conflict. It kept people buying records, watching shows, and following the hype. And they leaned into that hard.
So when y'all was shooting up the BMW, what was Suge Knight's reaction?
He was getting down, trying to duck. Anybody that got some sense, get their ass down. But he was getting down there. He way.
So he wasn't trying to grab Tupac?
Nah.
And this wasn't just a Death Row thing. Even East Coast labels like Bad Boy, along with other executives, played a role in pushing the rivalry. The difference was that Suge had the biggest spotlight and the boldest approach. He leaned on intimidation, loyalty, and his street credibility to control his artists and spin the narratives the way he wanted. Insiders have admitted that much of what unfolded was not organic at all. It was carefully planned out. It wasn't random, it was strategy. At the same time, Tupac's life was hitting a breaking point. After being convicted of SA, he was locked up. And while in prison, he gave a powerful interview to journalist Kevin Powell for Vibe magazine. In that conversation, Tupac revealed that he felt that the whole thug life movement was non-existent. He even expressed fear that his life might be ended after speaking out, but said he wanted this truth to be heard no matter what. Not long after that, Suge Knight stepped in, bailed him out, and signed him to Death Row. That moment completely shifted the direction of Tupac's life and career. From that point forward, the narrative that Biggie and Puff were behind it began to spread, and Suge's East Coast versus West Coast storyline gained even more traction. According to those close to the scene, the whole feud was engineered from the top down. Suge understood how to control the headlines, and Tupac's fire and intensity made him the perfect vehicle for that storyline.
Like, you feel tension when you come from that environment, you know, when it can just like that. Biggie come and win his award. Puffy say, I'm the one he was talking about.
I'm the executive producer that a comment was made about a little bit earlier.
But I ain't tripping, blah, blah, this and that. Then Biggie win his award and say,
Brooklyn! What up? Yeah.
Brooklyn! Something like, he ain't like, what you talking about, nigga? Nigga, Brooklyn, nigga.
The crowd go crazy.
Exactly. So now it's like, uh-oh.
You know what I'm saying? I'm representing for the borough, though, you know what I'm saying?
Puffy tried to turn him down. This nigga Biggie said Brooklyn. Now every nigga from New York is on the same team now. Ain't no from Brooklyn, ain't no Long Island, ain't no Manhattan. This nigga, it's New York. Like, I understand that. Like, when we was in the building, you could feel that.
And you said that when you grabbed the mic. You said, I know where I'm at.
Y'all don't love us.
Of course, not everyone agreed that the rivalry extended to things like the infamous firearms incident. Some people drew the line, saying they weren't involved in anything like that. But what's undeniable is that Tupac's passionate and outspoken nature made him a powerful voice in the drama, while Kane kept his distance. Kane refused to let himself be pulled into the chaos, but even that refusal was twisted into part of the narrative, with the media framing him as someone choosing not to take sides.
How you came out with KRS-One.
But my brother
at the Barclays in Brooklyn
and
against
my brother,
Kane.
Kane is my brother.
How
too.
you do that?
My two brothers. Do you know that obviously wasn't done on purpose? It was. Listen to what, if you go back and listen to what I was saying, I said nothing towards Kane. Right? I said when I battle and I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna get up on you, boy. But I didn't say nothing towards Kane. It was the impression of me rhyming towards Kane that gave people the impression that I was rhyming towards Kane.
It looked like Brooklyn versus Brooklyn.
Kane, why you left the stage? You know, but if Kane was supposed to stay right there, I was hoping he'd stay right there.
Meanwhile, the industry machine just kept running in the background. Fans were distracted by the beefs and headlines, but behind the curtain, labels were tightening their contracts, taking cuts from collaborations, and pumping out albums. The so-called East Coast-West Coast feud wasn't just about music. It was about controlling attention, power, and influence. Executives like Suge knew that shaping perception was just as profitable as selling records. And even years later, voices from that era looked back and admitted how ridiculous it all was. Some people in the business recalled that the whole death row versus everyone else narrative was exaggerated, that they never saw themselves at war with Suge's camp. They pointed out how a lot of stories were simply made up by others chasing fame or trying to build power. In their eyes, Death Row was operating on another level entirely, and much of the so-called rivalry was just noise created for attention. And this right here is why the story of Kane and Tupac matters so much. It's proof that the history we're fed about hip-hop isn't always the truth. While Suge and the industry executives cashed in on all the drama, the artists were the ones stuck right in the middle of it. Even Tupac himself later admitted that the whole East Coast-West Coast situation had spiraled out of control. He felt like people were losing their lives, and he carried some of that weight on his shoulders. He made it clear that it was never all about New York. It was only certain individuals he had problems with. Tupac even revealed that he had been working on a project called One Nation, which was meant to bring East Coast, West Coast artists together on one record. His goal was to end the fake narrative of war and show that unity was possible.
On the East Coast, people are kind but not nice. And on the West Coast, people are nice but not kind. And the girl goes on to give an example. On the West Coast, if you were to get a flat tire, somebody's like, oh man, that sucks. That sucks. I'm so sorry that happened to you. And you change your own tire. On the East Coast, someone's like, oh, you got a flat tire? The fuck is wrong with you? What are you trying to do? You trying to change this so you can't even change this shit? And she goes on, and she says, you know, the person that's trying to help them tells them to move over, let me change your tire for you, but is insulting you the entire time. And I swear to God, that is the truest, most real thing I think I've heard in a very, very long time.
Tupac believed the so-called war wasn't born from rappers. It was born from journalists and industry figures who kept pushing it to sell stories, to stretch the drama out so more albums, headlines, and TV moments could be sold off the chaos. He was frustrated that millions of people worldwide were being told about a coast-to-coast conflict that in his eyes never truly existed. To him, it was always a problem between a few individuals, not a war between two entire regions. And looking back, he felt both sides needed to show more restraint before things got so far out of hand. When you rewind to the 90s with all this in mind, the picture looks very different. The so-called East Coast-West Coast War wasn't some organic rivalry. It was a carefully manufactured drama with Suge Knight standing as one of the main directors behind the curtain. He knew how to pull strings, manipulate perception, and use artists as pawns in a much bigger game. Kane and Tupac didn't fit neatly into that script, which is probably why their genuine respect and connection never made the mainstream spotlight. And that's the real story behind the Big Daddy Kane, Tupac, and the messy East Coast-West Coast drama the industry fed us. Now it's your turn. Do you think Kane made the right call walking away from Suge Knight's offer? Could Tupac have changed the game if the media hadn't twisted the narrative? And do you believe the feud was really manufactured for profit? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because we want to hear what you think. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss the next deep dive. See you soon.